Hey guys, today I'm going to be demonstrating on how you can make a dashing Sackbot or running Sackbot. So basically when you press a button, the Sackbot will do a run for a certain amount of time, the amount of time that you allow. And you could have unlimited run if you wanted to, but this is going to show you basically hidden stamina system behind this specific Sackbot. Anyway, let's get to making that Sackbot. First things first, we're going to need this Sackbot itself, so just place that pretty much anywhere. Obviously you can change the settings to what you want, but make sure we keep this at the 100% walking pace, which is the normal speed of walking. And then inside the actual Sackbot, we're going to place a couple of things. So first off, we're going to place a tag. This tag will basically tell the game that this is the Sackbot, the red Sackbot, specifically because on the left I have the demo Sackbot, and it would interfere if it was the color green. Next up, we're going to have a controlinator. So let's just move that and make that a bit bigger. And on the controlinator, the settings will be set to receive on red, and everything else should be same as it is here. And that's pretty much it for the Sackbot itself for now. Okay, so next we're going to use either sticker panel or hologram, depending on if you don't have one or the other. So sticker panel is the one I will go for. Make it a very thin layer at the front. I'm using a small grid so it stays aligned. Then make your way to the tools bag and use a controlinator once again. The settings for the controlinator will be a transmitter on red, so the receiver will pick up the exact same signal. Every other setting is optional. I'm going to disable its visibility in play mode, and then make the sticker panel pretty much invisible in preview or play mode as well. Okay, so next up we're going to be placing a follower inside the separate controlinator that we place on some hologram. Increase the maximum speed to 100. Everything else here is fine. 100% acceleration, it's always nice. Minimum detection range goes to 0. Maximum detection range, make it at least enough room to basically take over what we have on the left. So I would say anywhere over 100 will do. Follow tag, red tag, Sackbot. So make sure it follows the exact same color tag as you have on your Sackbot here. Anyway, carrying on with this. You can obviously choose if you want to make it visible in play mode or not. It's totally up to you. So then we're done with that, so we can minimize that. And that is pretty much out of the way. So basically now we have control over the Sackbot, but that's only basic control that you'd expect to have already. Moving on to the actual running abilities of the Sackbot, what we're going to do is place a couple of things that you probably might not expect. First things first, we're going to use a direction splitter. So this splits the direction, basically being able to tell if the input is positive or negative. So right is positive, left is negative. And then after that, we're going to get an OR gate and plug in like that. So this basically enables us to pick up left and right signals, left and right signals, rather than left only one, because it will only pick up the positive action rather than the negative, resulting in something we don't want. So they can only run to the right, basically, which is not really how we want it to be. Next we get an AND gate, and the AND gate will be attached with the OR gate that we have the left and right inputs on. And then this is where you choose your button for the sprint. So I'm going to be using R1. You can use any button you want. L3 is a very good option if you Call of Duty or something, you run with that and that kind of thing. But I'm going to go with R1 because it's one of the basic buttons you use for creating an LBP mode. Well, most people do it, so I'm going to do it. Okay, next we're going to go with 2 one-shot switches, and it'll make a bit of make sense, but later down the line why we're using 2, but just attach them in a train order like this, and you're good to go with that. Then get a timer so you can tell apart. I have a timer slightly bigger than I do my counters, so I'm going to attach this counter to the timer, and this is how long you want to your player to be able to run before the player runs out of breath and has to wait for a delay, and then they can run again for this amount of time. So I'm going to say they can run for 3 seconds, and obviously make it so it starts counting upwards, so there's no issues, just in case someone joins and it messes up or whatever, but it'll be constantly counting up, and that should reset. Okay, so now we're actually going to add in what we want to happen when the Sackbot's running and when it's not running. So first things first, I'm going to copy one of these guys over. Make sure you already have the settings you want on here, like the animation styles and the facial expressions. I usually keep it as it is. Obviously, try and keep it as it is all the way around. Obviously, you don't want it to change too much when switching to running and switching back and so on. So make 2 of them and keep one as it is, and then increase one of the walking speeds to 150. So this is on when running and this is off when running. It's pretty much identical to this one. Well, it is identical to this one, except it's further up here and means we don't have to drag cables everywhere, and you won't see, you don't get confused as to where cables are going and so on. For added effect, I'm going to add in a smoke emitter, and the smoke emitter is basically just going to make it so it emits smoke when it runs, and it looks like dust is throwing up in the air and kind of thing, which looks pretty cool. So if this is going to happen when the running is not enabled, we need to put a not gate here and attach it to there. So this is on when it's not running, and to activate these things, we're going to use the second counter. If I can correctly pick up the cable, probably can't. There we go. And plug it into the smoke machine and the basically the AI, the Sackbot, and into the not input there. Okay, so now with this timer, you want it to reset itself after it's complete, and the second counter. Okay, so we're going to need another timer, so you may as well just copy this one. And to activate this timer, we're going to use this timer, and it's going to reset itself, and it's going to reset the first counter. So now it should make sense as to why we have 2 of them. So this will allow running, but this will allow the input to, this is basically allowing the delay that we want. So this timer will be the delay timer, so set it to whatever you want. I would usually set it to about half of what you can run for, just to make it a bit fair. So I'm going to go with 1.5 before allowing them to run once again. So let me just go over the whole process so you can understand it, and I'll let you go off and have a go with this. So left or right, doesn't matter which one. So it goes into the first part of the AND gate, and then your button on which you want to press to sprint, which will go into this. And the AND gate, when both of those are pressed, this counter will activate, which will activate this counter, which will then activate the smoke and obviously the faster speed. If this is not on, if we go to the not gate, it will reset back to default, which is identical to this. It will also activate this timer. This is the timer that basically, when it counts to full, that's when it resets and pretty much locks it down so you cannot run anymore. So this, depending on how long this is how long the player can run for, which resets itself, and basically the counter that enables you to run or not run, which will mean you can't run. It will reset you back to your default speed, and it will also, once completed, start the counting of the reset timer. So this is basically how long you cannot run for, how long it takes to regain the stamina before you can run again, which will reset itself and reset the original counter, which will then enable us to be able to run and try and sprint again. So if the cooldown timer is still going, this box will still be lit and this will not, meaning they can't run, but meaning they cannot still input a signal, so they can't try and sprint until this cooldown timer is completed. Then they can input it again and it'll go round and so on. But anyway, that should result in a fully working sprint. If I actually manage to press preview there. So press R1 and you basically get to run for as long as you set, and pressing R1 will not let me run until the stamina has been regained. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Obviously you can mess about with this how you want. You know, you could make this so it's visually displayed above the Sackbot so they can see when they can run again, and so on or so forth. So you could also have here you could have a certain light that goes two different colors. So one color means it can run, one means it can't, you know, whatever. It's totally up to you, but this is these are the basics of what you need to make a sprinting Sackbot. So hopefully this helped you, and make sure to give it a like if it did. Make sure to share it if you have any people obviously that may find this useful, and hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any requests on tutorials you'd like to see in the channel, make sure to put them below or inbox me them, or hit me up on my social media websites such as Twitter and Facebook. It's pretty much the same, LBP Create Guide or LittleBigPlanet Create Guide. Anyway, I've gone on long enough. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Peace.